Paul, how you doing, brother?
Hi, Chris. You all right, mate?
Yes, I'm good. Last time we chatted about well, I'm just going to show a picture of your book, Return to
Oh,
Bomb
thanks.
Alley.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about that today, but you were very brave in that book, and you highlighted all the, let's just call them discrepancies
Yeah.
in the narrative that we were told about the Falklands. And I think we said this last time, Paul. We mean no disrespect to our fellow veterans whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
We're all
Oh,
in,
yeah.
you served down there. A lot of the
Yeah,
guys
if you
I
read,
know,
if you read my book, you'll see that I pay full respect to everybody who serves down there, But
absolutely.
it was more focused on the politicians, our leaders, more focused on
Yeah,
that.
and there were. I don't want to get too much into it because we're going to be talking about town councils, but
Yeah.
or city councils. But you highlighted some valid facts, like the peace deal that was on the table that conveniently sort of went missing.
Yeah.
By Thatcher's
Yeah.
Margaret Thatcher's government and etc etc. So and it takes some balls to do that, mate. Anyone can go along with the hero narrative, can't they? And
Yeah, we can.
I know you fought like hell for the truth, and yeah, I don't know if it comes at a price. If it means that price is a lot of people that just don't get it, mate. Do they?
No, they don't. It's very easy to just to get on with your life. I mean, a lot of people have their own pressures, their own distractions, all that sort of thing going on. So anything that's inconvenient or uh, takes a bit of effort to look into, to research. Most people don't want to go there really, so they're happy to go along with whatever is the dominant narrative. So whatever they see on the 6 o'clock news on BBC, they'll just go along with that and just enjoy their lives as best as they can, and they don't sort of you don't want to get involved, I suppose. And there are many distractions, aren't there, Chris, to encourage people away from that sort of thing.
Absolutely. It's like it's almost like there's two kinds of people in the world, and again, I'm not judging. I mean no disrespect, but they're those that literally they don't want to know that the Titanic is sinking. They just want to keep partying it up, and you know hasn't affected them yet. and
Yeah,
then and then there's those that are like, hang on, something's really wrong here, and if people don't call it out,
that's
people
right.
don't stand their ground. I think,
Almost as if we're born like that, because from a very small child, I was like that. I was asking questions, and I was the sort of person who didn't trust necessarily trust my teachers or whoever it was, whoever the figures of authority were. I was always um, prone to question them rather than to accept everything they told me.
brother, you're gonna have to speak up a bit. I'm just looking at the audio
Yeah.
level here, and it's quite low. Um,
Okay, Chris. Yeah.
don't be afraid to shout. I mean, you're a scouser, isn't that what you do? Shout a lot
I'm
when
not a
you when you
Scouser.
when you're
My
not
wife
Nicky.
is a Scouser. I'm from Wirral, and that's different.
I know a very dear person in my life that was born there. I always call her a scouser.
Oh, right. Okay. I was
what
called Scouse when I was in the Navy, and I got fed up with correcting them in the end, so I just
what is it then?
accepted
Is
it in the end.
Wirral like the area and
Wirral is part of Merseyside ever since sort of 1974. It used to be part of Cheshire, so it was sort of separate from Liverpool, which was part of Lancashire then. And then somebody decided that we'd have a county called Merseyside, and that sort of included all the conurbations of the area. So we had the city of Liverpool, then we had the towns of Wallasey, Birkenhead, and that became Merseyside in the end. So that 1974, it all changed. And Scousers live in Liverpool, and that's that. You know, you won't find a Scouser on the other side of the Mersey. You know, you won't find one. So
Do you know what? I never use that term because I always feel like it's a bit derogatory, and I just know beautiful people from Liverpool,
yeah,
and I don't
yeah.
want to insinuate that they're all nicking car stereos.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, well, it's been made like that, hasn't it, by the media really over the years. People have made it derogatory in the way to be a Scouser, but we're people like my wife are very proud of being Scousers, you know, yeah. And people are proud of being Geordies and Glaswegians or whatever, aren't they? You know.
Mate, you sent me a video, and I'm just going to highlight this just because I think it really outlines what we're saying, and it's. Hang on a sec, let me get my desktop up. It's this poor tree that's 200 years old, and they've cut it down because it would have interfered with a signal from a certain tower, can we say? And
That's right.
I can just imagine now all the people that would just go along with that shit. They wouldn't give up. They wouldn't care. They wouldn't get it. They wouldn't get that
Yeah,
that tree is way more important than some
that's right. Yeah,
technology that ultimately is probably not in everyone's best interests.
that's right. That tree was 130 something years old, you know, when I was born. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's how long that tree's been hanging around there. And then it takes, you know, chainsaw. It's gone in a matter of minutes, isn't it? You know, it's so sad that somebody has felt the need to, to just cut it down like that, almost without a thought. Although, although the thought behind it, I think, is probably a financial considerations, isn't it? Really, you know, it's sad. Yeah, they could argue that it was maybe the roots were damaging the pavement or something like that, or the underground cables or something like that. But on that side of the road that I showed you, there's a park there, so there aren't any electricity cables on that side of the road. You know, when you get a big park, big long park like that, there are no water, gas, or electricity mains running down that pavement. So, in fact, to connect that mast, they had to do a road crossing, you know, to connect to the other side where the houses are. You know, I know all about this because I used to work as a cable jointer at one point. So I was doing road crossings, you know, to connect things to, you know, connect businesses and connect houses and lampposts and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all a bit sad that they're doing that. And some councils, like Sheffield Council, I think around 2015, were cutting down tens of thousands of trees. We can wonder why. Why were they doing it? I mean, we know that a new way of um, operating your phone was coming along. You know, that we had 4G, then we had 5G next. We know that was coming along, and we wondered with the timing of that, because the signals, the millimeter band microwave signals, don't travel through walls, and they struggle to travel through the trees in full foliage with all the leaves. They're a very short wavelength, and they cannot travel through walls or trees. So that makes you wonder where the trees cut down to facilitate the network, the new network that was coming along. You know,
Paul, you're no stranger to challenging the council, and how's that been over the years?
well, I'd have to go way back to a time when I think the term whistleblower was not in common currency. I think it did exist, but nobody really knew what a whistleblower was. But I was working for Wirral Council. I started there in 1995, and I'd been there about 7 years, and then I became aware of a financial scam that was going on. And as I've already said, I'm the sort of person, I'm not going to stay quiet about something like that. I'm going to say something. I was working in the street lighting section, or the street lighting design section of Wirral Council, and I noticed that this financial scam going on. It was to do with overtime, and I thought to myself, I'm going to say something to my bosses because they will obviously they'll back me up on it, and we can get it all sorted out. You know, it's public money after all. So, and what happens? Almost right from the start, all the documentation that was connected to this area started going missing. I thought, where's that file gone about the street lighting scouting rounds? Where's it gone? And somebody, after I'd said something, had decided to take it away. I think what they were doing was getting it out of my reach, you know, because the less evidence I had for what I was saying, the stronger their case would be. But anyway, I called in my union, which was Unison, and very quickly realised that they were hopeless. You know, they said they would help me and whatever, but I'd been advised by a friend to keep a diary of what was going on because as soon as I'd said something, people started behaving strangely towards me. You know, and there was a bit of bullying going on, and you'd walk past people on the stairs and they'd just turn their eyes away and stuff like that going on. So it's all a bit not very nice, you know. And a friend of mine said, keep a diary of everything, every incident that goes on, and that will help you, and you know, when it comes to hearings and whatever. So I did that, and I had this sort of dossier, and I thought, right, I'm going to take that to my Unison rep, and um, I handed it to him a few weeks later, and my mate said, glue the pages together at the top. Just glue them together at the top before you hand it in. And I'm saying, what? Why? Just do it, mate. Okay, so I did. And then I got suspended. You know, he said it was a neutral act, you know, but this is what happens to people who complain or blow the whistle. They get suspended. And then I was out of the way and they could start preparing their case then once I was out of the way. But this dossier, about 3 months later, I thought I'm going to go down to the Unison office in Birkenhead and see what they're doing with this dossier. And I picked it up. The fellow was there, picked it up. All the pages were still glued together a few months later. So I'd just discovered there and then that they weren't going to do a thing with it, you know. So my mate who'd been advising me, his name was Mick. God rest his soul, he's no longer with us now. But he was the Northwest Regional Organiser for what was called the Transport and General Workers Union. You know, he was the top man in the Northwest for that union. And like I say, he's no longer with us. But back then he said, join our union. It's now called Unite, that union. And I joined it and he said he'd represent me. So the next thing is, sorry, before then, they'd levelled gross misconduct charges at me, which are sackable. So my reward for blowing the whistle was gross misconduct charges aimed at me to sack me. They'd accused me of bullying and harassment against my colleagues, you know, but it was actually the other way around, you know. And then there's a few other charges as well. But the hearing came along in about August, and it was a red hot day. I always remember it was a red hot day in August, yeah. And me and Mick went down to the office there, went in, and Mick, you know, I won't tell you all the details, but Mick just wiped the floor with them. He just wiped the floor. He does this every day, you know. So, and in the end, they had to redeploy me, you know, to another job in the council. But because I was in the street lighting section, it's very specialised. And how do you redeploy somebody to the civils or to God knows where? They couldn't do that. And while I've been suspended, I was looking for another job anywhere to get the hell out of there, you know, and I got one. for a firm called Atkins, which was a private firm, an engineering consultancy. So I got a job there, and it was better pay as well. So I just let them struggle for a couple of weeks and try and redeploy me, and then I just sent a letter of resignation to them. And Dave Green was the name of the director who received that letter from me. And I also asked him for some back pay that they hadn't paid to me, so he wasn't very happy, you know. But anyway, I left the council. I obviously couldn't go back because my name was like mud, you know, so I couldn't go back there. So I was then at Atkins for a year, and I got a job at Cheshire. I should have learnt my lesson at Wirral, but I went back into the public sector and I got a job at Cheshire West and Chester Council, which was then called Cheshire County Council. It was one huge county council for Cheshire back then. And I got a job there as a street lighting design engineer at Cheshire. And it was great, and I loved it there, you know. And it started going wrong when my line manager, started getting very friendly with female colleague, and everyone's noticing this, and they coming to work together in the morning, they're going out on site together, and they're going home together at night. And he's a married man, living on Wirral, working in Cheshire. And I don't know if something was going on between them. Maybe it was, but that wasn't my beef, sort of thing, or anyone else's in the department. That wasn't their beef. What was happening was he was favouring her and protecting her, and her career is starting to go. Whoa, it's going up, you know, and everyone else is struggling. You know, you hear about these situations, and yeah, it's going on right in front of me, and I'm thinking, oh, should I say something? Oh, look what happened at Wirral. I'm thinking, Christ, you know, gross misconduct charges when I spoke up there. And in the end, it got so bad. This girl's getting promoted to my level, and then I'm thinking, Christ, she's gonna be leaving us all behind. And in the end, I did speak up about it, and I put a complaint in about it. You know, there's favouritism going on. He's protecting her, and when opportunities to advance yourself are coming up, he's abusing his power really, and she's getting every opportunity that's going. You know, when people coming in like sales people are coming in to whatever it is, they're selling lanterns, lighting columns, whatever it is, she's making all those connections with those people, and it's all those areas that helps you to get on in your career. You know, so I mean, I'm not saying I was a careerist type of person, but I was just being left. I was being left to sort of work on the computers and to do all the humdrum sort of work, you know. So and so's everyone else as well. So I complained about it. And the same thing happened again. Gross misconduct charges, Chris. You know, where they came from. You know, one director said to me, I was sending him too many emails, you know, and he got upset about that. So in response, I got gross misconduct charges, sackable gross misconduct charges coming at me, you know. And I knew how to fight after the first thing at Wirral. And straight away, I got the internal. I hope there's people watching this, because this is how you conduct yourself. You do it in a mature way, in a grown-up way. I asked for the internal policies and procedures of Cheshire West and Chester Council. Sorry, that was a cat running past me now. Cheshire West and Chester Council's internal policies and procedures. I asked for them straight away, and I knew that if I looked at them and if I saw managers not behaving by those policies and procedures, then I could highlight it, you know, exactly. And I found that they were breaching every. Sorry about that. That's the cat. That was the cat. Sorry. I was highlight their policies and procedures were full of yellow highlights everywhere. That was where they're breaching them. So I kept that, and eventually an external investigator come in, and he interviewed everybody in the department. Tell, tell me, Chris, if I'm giving you too much detail here, you know,
No, no,
but
mate, keep talking.
okay, yeah, he interviewed everybody in the department, and I had a union rep, and he came in, and at one point he had to leave. I don't know if he was on holiday, but I took another union rep in who who knew what she was talking about because she'd done this sort of thing all of her life, and she came in and she was fantastic. And what I didn't tell them right from the beginning to the end was that union rep was my mother-in-law. I never told them that, but they knew her name and everything, but we didn't know the family connection, and she was wonderful. She's no longer with us as well. It's Mandy, my wife's mum, you know. But she was fantastic, and anyway, she was interviewed, and I about about 10 other people were interviewed, and I got copies of all the tapes. You know, which is how you do things. You know, everyone gets a copy, or I get a copy of all the tapes, so I knew what was being said. You know, and so I knew everything about this, and eventually we got to about September 2003, and I was called into the Cheshire West and Chester Council headquarters on the banks of the Dee. A lovely hot day again, you know, with my union rep, Brian, who was the Unite Northwest representative, the top man again, you know, I had the top man. But to be honest, I don't think I even needed the top man because I knew exactly what I was doing, you know. And the same thing happened again. The gross misconduct charges just started falling to pieces around them, you know. And the female director, I'm not mentioning any names, but she said, I think we'll park the charges that are left, and we'll reconvene in 2 weeks' time and pick them up again. Okay, how's that, Paul? I'm thinking, okay, yeah, fair enough. So off we go, and that was a Friday. So I've got the weekend to still think, shit, I'm going to get sacked here, you know, all this. And my phone goes on Monday morning, and it was Brian. And he said, are you sitting down, Paul? I said, yeah, I'm sitting down. What's up? He said, I've just had a visitor from Cheshire West Council, head of HR, and he came bearing gifts. And I said, what are you on about? And he said, they've released your pension. So as soon as he said that, I thought, Jesus Christ, 32 years of pension from the day I joined the Royal Navy, you know, between age 18 and 50. Because one thing I didn't mention before, Chris, was that hearing I'd been to was on my 50th birthday, you know. And I'll tell you why it was on my 50th birthday. Because on that day, I became eligible for that pension. It's now 55. It's changed. It's 55 now, but back then in 2003, it was age 50. So they released my pension, all 32 years of it, and which I later discovered was £12,000 a year. You know, I'd been on about 30, so it was almost three times less. But I thought that's good. That's a good result. And the solicitor who was dealing with my case said, I've very rarely seen that happen. You know, it doesn't happen. But you've done really well there, he said, getting that. And I thought, right, yeah, brilliant. But then the council said I had to sign a compromise agreement. And they're not called compromise agreements now. They changed the name a few years later to settlement agreement. And then they keep changing the name of these things because they're so, what's the word? Dubious, yeah. They're now called non-disclosure agreements, and we've all heard of them, haven't we? Because they're everywhere. Tony Blair brought compromise agreements in the 1990s, and they're very good for councils and for any employer, really, because they're like what they call the full and final settlement. Well, people get gagged inside them. So the person signing it, the signatory of the compromise agreements, can't talk about any of the circumstances that led up to signing that agreement. Not only that, the issuing body can't talk about it either. So a lot of stuff is just swept under the carpet in one go, and nobody can talk about it. If you do talk about it, it's under threat of being taken to the High Court, and good luck to you if you end up there, because as time goes on, it's a bit like the Official Secrets Act. As time goes on, it gets a bit more, it gets a bit easier to talk. And I've been singing really about I'm doing it now, telling you about my situation. I don't even think about that compromise agreement anymore. But anyone signing one now and breaching it next week would end up in the shit, straight away. Sorry, I'm going off track a little bit.
No,
But,
I just chip
so,
in here,
yeah,
Paul, and say that
yeah,
this is a stupid mentality of people. Is gross misconduct is like basically you have to rape someone in the workplace, or get
yeah,
caught selling crack, or be
yeah,
seriously defrauding the company.
yeah.
That's
That's right.
gross misconduct, right?
That's right, Chris. And I've seen, for example, the police getting misconduct charges for a hell of a lot worse than what I did. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And what happens is these numpties, bless them, in they see something that you've done that they don't like, so they try to like chuck the baby in the bathwater at you, and they hit you for the biggest one, and then of
It's all about
course,
losing face. For people personally, they don't want to lose face. They feel important, and they don't want to see that challenged by an oik like me. And as far as the corporation or the council goes, they have a reputation to protect, and that's sacrosanct to them. And somebody like me can be swept aside, or they think can be swept aside.
because they hit you with the biggest one, it doesn't stand up because it's not gross. Disagreeing with people is not gross misconduct. It's just
Exactly.
disagreeing
Yeah.
with people.
Yeah. One of the charges as time went on, one of the charges was a lack of trust, a gross misconduct charge. He was saying you haven't got trust in us anymore. So we cannot continue with this employment. And I said, well, that doesn't stand up because every time I've ever sent you an email or sent you some sort of piece of correspondence, I've always finished it with, um, I do believe that we can rebuild the situation and that we can reestablish trust. I always said that, and but still, they threw that charge at me and it collapsed because of that. Because I'd always said that trust can be rebuilt. It collapsed. And that's good advice for anyone watching this.
Absolutely. Let's first off, let's just say thank you to Janie who put us in. Well, Janie's what got this conversation going, is what I'm trying to say. And we're talking about council watches,
Yeah,
and Janie's from Council Watch Liverpool. It is quite mad though, Paul, because you and I live in a completely different world to councillors, don't we? Let's be honest. We don't buy the nonsense. We know
yeah, we
who's
do.
behind the last 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is. You
Yeah,
know, it's a
yeah,
big club. they
that's right.
they try and control everything, but obviously they don't control people like us, which is going to be their downfall ultimately, because truth is always the truth.
Yeah, that's right.
But it is a funny situation where you've got these people on the town council, and I don't know all the correct terminology, city council, county council, whatever, but like they're all a bit like old dodderers that they don't know shit about nothing. They don't
yeah,
know about. I'm stuck. What to give an example? But
well,
they they believe what they see on their TV, and it's all true, and oh my god, we're all going to die in our beds next week because of this, or oh, the
yeah, yeah,
climate's doing this, we've got to. Yeah.
yeah,
And you and I guess what I'm saying is, where's it going, Paul? Where's it going? Because I think Council Watch is great. It's put
yeah,
some pressure on them that they've never had to have before. It's put some
fantastic.
what's that
Yeah,
word? Accountability.
yes. It's a fantastic word, that, Chris, because that's something I've never seen here on Wirral. Accountability. If it never arrives, then they will keep pushing the boundaries until it does arrive. I can't see it arriving, but they keep embroiling themselves in worse and worse situations. I'm talking about Wirral here, and I think I'm talking about Liverpool as well. Janie would be able to confirm that with Wirral. I get a sense of what goes on in Liverpool because I'm very close to it. But Wirral, I know exactly what's going on because I look at those characters. It's the older ones that have been there for sort of a couple of decades, Um, they're the ones to watch because they're the ones who are welcoming in the new councillors who are probably sort of bright-eyed and thinking, "Oh, I've probably got this idea that what they're going to do will be valuable." A good on them for thinking that you can achieve something. But the younger ones tend to be a bit green around the gills, and they'll either leave very quickly when they realise what's going on, or if they are the wrong type of person, they will stay and they themselves will get embroiled in whatever it is that's going on, whether it's uh, cover-ups, whether it's sort of ongoing sort of lies, whether it's cronyism, whether it's any of these sort of things that go on. There's a big long list here with Wirral of different things that have gone on over the years. There was abuse of disabled people going on about 10 years ago. And a whistleblower called Martin Morton spoke up about it. He was um, a manager in social services. He discovered that learning disabled people, a lot of learning disabled people, were having their bank accounts raided by the council, and to the tune of £736,000 over 9 years. That's how bad it was. So an external investigator was called in. Martin was forced out of his job. He had to sign a compromise agreement. Um, but he kept at it, and he complained to what was then the Audit Commission. That's gone now, but he complained to the Audit Commission, and they agreed with him, and they put pressure on the council and got them to call in an external investigator, which would never have happened without the Audit Commission doing that. The leader of the council at the time was called Steve Fowkes, and he's still there now. And I think of him as a kind of dead hand on the tiller. He's like a person that you don't see or doesn't make himself obvious. He's still there, and he's functioning, and he always gets voted in by the people. That's not going to change. He'll always be voted in because he's been there so long. But like I say, dead hand on the tiller of the ship, and it's a ship that's slowly sinking as far as I'm concerned. Um, I mean, I'm going off the subject here. We were sort of generally talking about councillors, but somebody like Steve Fowkes is allegedly a bad person inside that council. And I get the sense that he guides what's going on at this council, which has an extremely toxic culture. And I've had a recent development which we could talk about if you want, Chris. It's to do with a planning committee that I wanted to address, but yesterday I discovered that I'm not going to be able to address that. council, at that committee. I think because they know who I am. But only if you want to talk about that, Chris.
Yeah, are
It's
we
up to
talking
you.
about the certain masts? Is that?
Yeah, it's certain masts that have gone up. They started going up around 2020, around 2020 when the lockdowns came in. Certain industries had the privilege to carry on operating, and one of those industries was the telecoms industry. So during the lockdowns, a hell of a lot of these masts went up, and a lot of them went up on Wirral. I think we've got about 100 applications. Some of them have been turned down, but a lot have gone in. And I could, if you want, mention what I was going to talk about.
Was it
Um,
false planning permission? Was it not?
it is. It is. I've got a friend, Jez. He's been looking at this area for years now, and he's got a couple of friends as well who've been looking at this. They've been raising petitions to do with these masts, and I saw a petition the other day that had 194 signatures, which is quite a lot, you know. But the council themselves ask for to be able to talk to the council. You need a petition. You need to present a petition that's got more than 25 signatures. So I had that. I had one with 194 signatures on it to do with a mast, and I was told by a sort of gatekeeper at the council that I'd be able to talk and to address a meeting on the 6th of June, just gone. That meeting didn't happen because they postponed it until July. And I'm thinking, have they done that because of me? And then I don't think they did because they postponed about a dozen or more meetings. And they said that was because of the general election. And I think that is genuine. So this planning meeting isn't happening until the 18th of July now. So, but yesterday I found out that I wasn't going to be able to talk at this meeting. And I'm thinking it's probably because they know who I am, they know about my blog, and they're saying it must be relevant to something that's being discussed at the meeting. That's the reason that they're giving. But this person I've been talking to, this sort of gatekeeper, told me that I could talk. So there's contradiction going on there. So we've got to put our heads together now and think, how are we going to do this? Are we going to just go into that meeting as members of the public, you know, because we're allowed to do that as members of the public, and then just hit them with it, or should we, or should we contact our councillors maybe? My own councillor is the leader of the council, which is very fortunate for me. I've been thinking, should I start putting pressure on him now? Should I start? I could go and knock on his door, or I could go and ring him up and put it to him that we've sent a letter before claim detailing all of these masts that have got bogus safety certifications. There's 31 of them on Wirral. They haven't all gone through, but some of them are standing and some of them are transmitting, but we don't know what the power levels are to those transmissions, behind those transmissions, because they've got bogus safety certifications. And what happened there was my friend went on the planning website that covers all the applications and approvals, and discovered that a company called 3UK Limited had signed off these bogus certificates. 3UK Limited does not exist. 3UK Limited was dissolved in the year 2015. So 5 years before these masts were ever planned to go in. So uh, those certificates are fraudulent, you could say. I want to get all this information to the council, but I'm being blocked. So they could be digging a hole for themselves by doing that, because they could be incriminating themselves at a future date. And if we do go into the meeting and they try and stop us from talking, I've discovered that inside their own code of conduct, which appears in the council's constitution, section 8.3 says, as a councillor, I will not intimidate any person who is involved in any investigation or proceedings, or I will not attempt to intimidate that person. Now, I and my friend Jez and a few other people are involved in investigation and in proceedings, you know, so they would be breaching their own code of conduct if they try to throw us out, you know. So we've done a lot of thinking and a lot of planning on this, but we're being prevented by the council from going in and stating our case. So I think the next port of call is probably to phone up the leader of the council, Paul Stewart, and then take it through that route and see what he does. He may see that, oh shit, I better not incriminate myself. I better let this fella in. Or he may take the route of just ignoring me. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, Chris. So that's one to watch. It's all happening right now.
Absolutely. I hate all this stuff, you know, these stupid towers and stuff. It's as if it's making life better. It's not. You know, it's just destroying the future for our kids. They all just spend all their times on the bloody tablets now, and they're not out
We've
there.
got to speak up. It's us that have got to speak up, because who else is going to do it? You know, we can't rely on councillors to do that, can we? We know that now. We can't rely upon. We've got to do their job. We've also sent that letter before claim, which is a legal document, to Michael Gove, who is the minister concerned. We've sent it to the Serious Fraud Office. We've sent it to the National Crime Agency. It's gone to obviously to the Chief Executive Officer of Wirral Council. And it's also gone to the Planning Inspectorate in Bristol. So we're covering all our bases, and we're doing everything right, you know. We're doing everything properly. We don't want to do their jobs. We want to see them doing their jobs properly without breaching their codes of conduct, you know. That's all that we're asking.
Absolutely. Paul, on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much.
Okay, mate.
Keep up the good work. Keep spreading the news. Friends at home, if you could like and subscribe, that would be wonderful. There you go. Look, there's a little clicky thing. Yeah, Paul. No, on behalf of all of us, thanks for your hard efforts. It's hard being at the coalface, but
it is. I'll tell you what, Chris. I should say this now. When I first set out on this road, it's quite stressful, really. And have you heard that sort of analogy of walking a tightrope? You know, you think like you're gonna one misstep and you're gonna fall off, you know, down into the gorge or whatever. But I'd say I've been doing it so long now, it feels like I'm riding along that tightrope on a unicycle, juggling, you know, because it feels right and it feels good, and I've had my victories along the way. So I'd recommend, if your health is up to it, for anybody to do this, to get involved in it and to speak up. Because like you say, Chris, it's our children.
Absolutely. Paul, stay on the line so I can thank you properly, but thanks for joining us on the show again. That's it. Friends out there, if you could like and subscribe. I'm going to say no more. Much love. Cheers.
Cheers, Chris.
Cheers, brother.